Hey everybody, my name is Aidan. I am here on behalf of Middle Country Library. I operate a website called Pressure Cooker Passion. I am an Instant Pot blogger and enthusiast. Tonight we're going to be doing a program about easy meals that you can make, hopefully with things that you have in your pantry. And we're going to go through setting up your Instant Pot. You know, a lot of people haven't gotten it out of the box yet, and I think it'd be a great time to give it a shot. So we'll get going in about 5 minutes here, and then we'll make a couple meals and we'll have some fun. Thank you. All right, so while we're waiting, oh, wow, okay, we really jumped up. All right, just so you guys know, obviously I'm home like everybody else. I do have two small children, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So they might hop in, they might come in and talk. Oh, yeah. Everyone clap for healthcare workers. Thank you everybody so much for what you're doing. We really do appreciate it. Anybody out there that's helping, we really do. And grocery store workers, people who work in doctor's offices, people who are doing everyday jobs, garbage men, thank you. Thank you everybody. We're really, really appreciative. I mean, you know, the fact that I can be in my house all day, I complain about it a lot, but it really is fortunate that there are people out there that are doing these things to keep us safe. All right, so we have a bunch of people. Thank you for all the clapping. All right, so tonight's program, again, thank you so much to the Country Library for having me. I really do miss doing these programs in person, but the fact that I do get to connect with you guys, online is better than nothing. And I think we're all kind of looking for a distraction during the time. COVID's really impacted a lot of people's lives. And I know personally it's tough. But when you have something, maybe you got an Instant Pot for, a present, maybe you bought one and it's just been sitting in the box. This might be a great opportunity to try to use it out and have some fun, maybe learn a couple things. All right, so today I'm going to cover, I'm basically going to cover 4 things. We're going to go through kind of an Instant Pot 101. So if you've never taken it out of the box, how do you use it? How do you get going? And then we're going to make a couple of, really pantry-friendly recipes. Hopefully you'll have most of these ingredients around. I always say this when I read these classes, don't feel the need to go out and buy things if you don't have them. Try to make do without it. There's no reason to go to the store if you don't have taco seasoning. Only go for what's absolutely necessary. All right. So first things first, when you buy your Instant Pot, it will come in a big box. You can take it home. They have 3 different sizes. They have a 3-quart, they have a 6-quart, and they have an 8-quart. Okay, so I have a 6-quart and an 8-quart. Personal preference, I like the 8-quart better. I usually like to make food for family and have a little bit extra. So I find that cooking for 4, the 8-quart's usually the way to go. The 6 is actually pretty good for cooking for 4 too, but I just like being able to make a little bit more and kind of freeze it for later. So that's my preference, but 6-quart is definitely the #1 bestseller. It's extremely popular. It's a good size, so you can get a lot of use out of that. All right. So behind me, this is right here. This is an Instant Pot. All right. So I'm going to just adjust the camera a little bit. So what is an Instant Pot? An Instant Pot really is a multi-cooker, and what that means is it can do multiple things. So there's a whole bunch of buttons on here, and I'll pick up my computer and try to show you what it looks like. But basically, you can do multiple things with it. That's why it's called a multi-cooker. So you can saute with it, you can pressure cook with it, you can steam things with it, you can saute with it, you could use it as a slow cooker, you could use it as a rice cooker, you could use it to make yogurt. You could really make a ton of different things with it. The Instant Pot is not the only game in the market. They've been around probably the longest, which is why they have like such a strong brand name. But now there's a lot of people making them. So I know Ninja makes one, Crock-Pot makes one, and when I say makes one, I mean they make multi-cookers. Essentially, they all kind of do the same thing. I've never used any of those other models, so I can't really attest to how well they function, but I kind of look at it this way, like there's a lot of different types of toasters out there or blenders out there, check out the reviews. For me, these have been workhorses. I think this year, well, in the last 12 months, I've done like 70 classes or something like that. So I would say I probably use these way more than anyone else, and I still have my original one, the first one that I bought 2 years ago. So, all right. You get your Instant Pot home, you don't know what to do with it, right? So first thing you do, you take it out of the box, and there's a few parts. There's this part. This is called your inner pot. It is a stainless steel insert. It goes inside of this pot, which is called your outer pot, all right? So once you get it home, you take everything out of the plastic, you throw all the styrofoam away. You got your guide manual. There's a couple things that come in the box. It's a steamer rack. They have like a little like spoon or measuring cup, a few other items. But basically, if you want to just start cooking right away, you take this out, you wash it with some soap and water, right? So that's step number one. You dry it off, you put it back, okay? Next, you take this thing. This is your lid, okay? So same thing, you're gonna wash this with some soap and water, right? There's a couple parts on the lid that you will need to become familiar with. This valve right here is a steam release valve. So basically there's two settings. You can have it set to vent, which means the steam can escape, or set to seal, which means that the steam will all get sealed in here, all right? It's written on here, it's in black, it's a little tough to read, but vent is in kind of like a 7 o'clock position if you're looking at it. And then, I'm sorry, this is all backwards because of the way the camera's set up. And then seal is at a 9 o'clock position, all right? And I will pause for questions in a second. Another thing to be aware of, there's a little ring in here. It's a silicone ring, looks like that. And there's a track that corresponds to it, which is right here. So you basically want to just make sure that this ring, the silicone ring, is set in the track. So just go around with your finger, push it down all the way around, and make sure it's all sealed up, okay? All right, so you've washed your lid, you've washed your inner pot, you've dried them off. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take 3 cups of water and do a test. It's basically like your test run to make sure everything works. It also will sterilize the inside and sanitize anything that's in here. 3 cups of water, you put it in here. You're gonna use the button that says pressure cook. You push that button, and you're gonna set it for 5 minutes. The way you adjust the time is with these plus and minus signs. And again, I will kind of try to zoom in later so you guys can see it a little bit closer. Once your water is in there and you've set your time, you'll put your lid on, you'll lock it, and you'll seal it. The lid comes on and off pretty easily, and it twists. There's actually there's things like these grooves that align with the grooves on the pot. So it kind of actually is like a little bit of a safety feature too. It basically locks everything in place, so it reduces the risk of any type of blowout or spaghetti on the ceiling, like the story that your grandma told you, you know, when she was a kid. That's actually one of, I would say, the most common things I get in every one of my programs is somebody says, oh, someone in my family had one, they were using it, and then big blowout in the kitchen and food everywhere. So today's pressure cookers are, especially electric ones, are much better. They have a lot of safety features that are in there to help prevent things like that from happening. So you can kind of like rest easy on that front. All right, so I'm going to pause right now. Any questions?
No questions right now, Aidan.
All right, thank you, Alex. Okay, so we'll keep moving along here. All right, so let me jump over. 1 second here. All right. So we've kind of covered how you handle setting it up, right? So you've done a pressure cook. It's gone for 5 minutes. There's a timer here. It'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you're going to release the pressure. Take the lid back off. Once it's safe to open it, discard the water, dry it off, wash it again, and you're ready to start cooking, okay? So now that you're ready to start cooking, I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer. And so, excuse me, it might get a little shaky, but I just want you guys to be able to see this better. And I know it's going to be kind of backwards, but we'll still get a little bit of an idea. All right, so there's a few buttons that you need to be aware of. These are kind of like the most common buttons on the Instant Pot. So this one says something. It's in the bottom left corner. Basically, it works like a. So you can.
Hey, excuse me, Aidan. We're having a little trouble hearing you on the mic.
Okay, how about now? Maybe I should move it back. Is that better?
Better.
Better? Okay. So I can't zoom in, but if you want, let me see if I actually have a button. Do keep a manual on me. So if you do get the Instant Pot, this right here is super helpful. It gives you all that information I just gave you about how to set it up and how to do your test run. It also has a complete guide to like what all the buttons do and what the temperatures mean for those buttons. Because one of the things that's cool about the Instant Pot, much like your microwave, it has a lot of presets. So what does that mean? Like there's a button for potato, there's a button for popcorn, you know, like on your microwave. Instant Pot has the same concept. They have a button for like soup and broth. They have a button for stew, chili, poultry, rice, multigrain, porridge, steam. So there's a whole bunch of options that you can use if you're not really the kind of person who's very confident in the kitchen. And you're like, I just want to put it in there and push chicken and then walk away and not worry about anything. You can use that. All right. So those are the presets they are up top. Down below, these are probably going to be your most frequently used buttons. I'll return to the saute button. So the saute button is in the bottom left corner if you're looking at the Instant Pot. All right. It basically acts like an electric saute. One of the advantages of being able to saute in the Instant Pot is that you can do a lot of one-pot dishes where you won't have to, you know, so like, for example, if you're using your slow cooker, I saw somebody in the chat before mentioned it, a lot of times you have to like sear meat before you put it in the slow cooker or like reduce onions or something like that. You don't really have to do that with the Instant Pot. You can literally do it already. There's 3 temperature settings for saute. You have what they call less, normal, or more. And there's a little button, light, that will be associated with each one. And kind of here, and I don't know if you can see it toggling between the 3. It's moving, right? So less basically means low, normal means medium, and more means high. I don't know why they use less medium, why they use less normal more instead of low medium high, but they did. But there's a different reasons to use each one of these. Most recipes will indicate why you should use it. All right. Additionally, one thing you're going to have to do all the time, and you're going to use this button pretty frequently as well, is the cancel button. Okay. The reason you use the cancel button is because whenever you are changing functions in your Instant Pot, you always have to cancel it. So if you're sauteing something and then you're going to pressure cook it, you have to hit cancel in between. Okay. Finally, the pressure cook button. So this is the most popular button, hands down. This is really what gives the Instant Pot its instant name, and then that's pressure cooking. So if you're not familiar with pressure cooking basically means that you're creating a pressurized environment inside of this pot, right? And when you create a pressurized environment, you need a couple different things. You need heat, you need liquid, you need steam, and you need a way to seal everything in there without having the steam escape. The reason that it helps things cook so much faster is because when you create that pressurized environment, you can reach temperatures that you normally could not reach on your stovetop. So for example, if you are boiling water on your stovetop, the hottest you can get it is 100 degrees Celsius. So that's boiling water. Within an Instant Pot, you're going to go up to 112 to 116 degrees, right? But what that translates to is up to 16 to 18 times faster cook times. So you can do things like pot roast, maybe traditionally take you 2 hours. You can do it in like 45 minutes. Dried beans, you can have them done in an hour without soaking. So there's a lot of different advantages to pressure cooking, and that's kind of why it has the instant slogan in here. All right. So make sure I didn't leave anything off here. Okay, so when you're doing a pressure cook, all right, what we talked about earlier, you're going to seal your pot. The steam is going to build up in there. The water is going to boil, and it takes a couple minutes, right? So eventually, when the temperature reaches, you know, hot enough to create that pressurized environment, and there's enough steam, you're going to see something like this. It's called your float pin, and it goes up and it comes down. So when the float pin comes up, you are ready to pressure cook. Okay. Then a timer will come up on the screen, whatever you entered, and it will start. I think that's pretty much everything. I'll pause. Does anybody have any questions about what we just covered? If anybody just got their Instant Pot and they tried to use it and they're not sure about anything, feel free to ask, even if might not be pertaining to exactly what we talked about. Good. Okay. All right. So that being said, let's try to make a couple of things. Some pantry-friendly dishes. All right. And again, I would definitely say I don't want anybody to go to the store if you don't have to. But these are all things you can make at home, hopefully with ingredients that you have in the house. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is a pasta with tomatoes. And this is a really, really simple dish. I'm actually just going to run and grab my ingredients. All right. So I just grabbed my ingredients here. The first thing I'm going to do before I start telling you what we have for ingredients, I'm going to hit saute. I'm going to do saute normal. All right. Here. So I have 1 cup of onion that I diced up right here. I have 1/2 teaspoon of garlic, minced garlic right here. We have 3 cups of, I use spiral pasta. You could really use any medium-sized pasta if you want to use penny, if you want to use rigatoni, if you want to use otay, those would all work. You wouldn't have to adjust it for the time. I have 2 14.5-ounce cups of diced tomato. You could use whatever brand you like, whatever you have handy. If you don't have diced tomato, you have tomato sauce, use that. If you don't have that, you can crushed tomato, stewed tomato. Basically, we just want to get a little bit of acid in the dish. All right. And then we have 3 types of seasoning. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. If you like your pasta to have a little kick to it, you can definitely substitute red pepper flakes instead of black pepper. And I'm also going to be using 2 cups of chicken stock. All right. All right. So I've hit the saute button, and basically right now this says on. Okay. So what's happening is the heat source in the Instant Pot is starting to fire, and it's going to heat that stainless steel insert on the bottom there. And then when the Instant Pot deems that it's gotten to the normal saute temperature, it's going to change from on to hot. It usually takes, I don't know, anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes. Most of the time, you can probably start cooking before it's actually ready. But that's completely up to you. And one thing I forgot to mention is the broth. If you don't have chicken stock or chicken broth, that's okay. You can totally use water if you have to. It's a fine substitute. Additionally, this is a very, very basic pasta dish. This is a great one for getting started. If you have other things in your house that you want to throw in here, you could do that. If you had some spinach, you didn't get to finish your salads this week, you could throw a couple handfuls of spinach in here. If you have frozen spinach, you can put it in here. If you have peas, you can really kind of make this almost like a primavera if you wanted to, with vegetables. If you wanted to do some protein, some meats, you could also do that. The only thing I would say is you would probably want to just saute them in here before, and then do your onions and everything like that. Just cook it down a little bit, brown it, and then you can go ahead and proceed with the recipe as normal. All right. So I'm just going to fill this real quick. It's getting close. So I'm going to add in my olive oil here. All right. Test it in here. It's already hot enough. So I went ahead and I added in my onion. And we're just going to saute the onion for about a minute. It's really hard doing this and not really being able to see them, so I'm just going to stand up for a second. All right. So we're just going to basically saute that until the onions get soft and start to become a little translucent. This usually takes a minute or 2, but it really helps to release a lot of that flavor in there. And it adds a lot to the pasta. So I'll pause again. Are there any questions? Don't be shy. No? Okay. Yeah, so I know I was joking around earlier that we've been eating like so much, making every single meal, and you kind of get to the point where you're just like, cooking nonstop and get tired of it, and you really just miss going out. And I think everybody does, and especially cooking 3 meals a day for 4 people and cleaning up 3 meals a day. I mean, you really just want to order some Chinese or pizza. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm cooking nonstop too. Yeah, it feels like that. And every time I turn around, the dishes are piled back up in the sink. But you know, I'm trying my best to eat things that aren't too bad. But yeah, I was joking with some of the moderators here earlier with about the quarantine 15. I think everybody knows, you know, with all this stuff in here, it's hard to keep your sanity and your diet in check in these circumstances and all the stress. But you know, I hope you're doing your best, and if you can, get out, exercise, walk around your yard or garden or do something. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the garlic. Turn this up. And after you add the garlic, you can actually just go ahead and cancel. It's going to be so hot that it'll continue to cook. We just don't want it to get stuck to the bottom there, so I'm just going to give it a stir. Make sure that it's all looking good. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my stock. My tomatoes, and my pasta, and my seasoning. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and just put the pasta in now. I will add in my oregano and my pepper, my salt. And I'm going to go ahead and open these tomato cans up and toss them in. Oh, I see. Okay, we got a question. All right. So Arlene asked, what's the difference between this and a pressure cooker? Okay, so this is basically an electric pressure cooker. So it has all the functionality of your stovetop pressure cooker and then some, because it really is a multi-cooker. So there is, I guess technically the only difference is, you know, you're using, this is all enclosed in a single device. The heating unit is all encased within the Instant Pot itself. And it can do a lot more than just pressure cook. If you have just a stovetop pressure cooker, they work great. I still have mine. I still use it from time to time. You know, it's just kind of like a matter of preference. So you can, one of the things I actually like about this is it kind of self-regulates heat. And one of the examples I always give is what I deem to be like medium heat on the stove. Arlene, you might think is like 2 ticks higher, but, you know, and then somebody else might think it's like 2 ticks lower. So sometimes, especially with pressure cooking, it is hard to find that sweet spot. But with this, it's much easier because it's really, you know, it's low pressure or high pressure. All right, so I've added everything in here. All right, I'm going to stir it again. I'm going to make sure that everything's combined nicely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on. Okay, I'm going to turn it, unlock it. I'm going to hit the pressure cook button, which is on the bottom right. I'm going to set the time. So I personally like my pasta to be a little al dente, so I use 4 minutes. If you like your pasta to be, you know, a little bit softer, you can use 5 minutes. I actually think on my website I have it listed as 5 minutes because I got feedback that a lot of people thought it was a little too al dente. But again, that's just preference. So I'm going to actually make sure that the top is set to the seal position, all right, so that none of the steam will be able to escape once it starts boiling and gets hot enough. And we're just going to wait. So what's going to happen is it says on now, and the water's, the stock is going to heat up, and the tomato juice is going to heat up, and basically it's going to start to boil. And we're going to get the steam, And the steam is going to build and build and build, and eventually the pressure cooker is going to become sealed, and we'll have that pressurized environment. Then this will change from on to the time we just entered, which is 4 minutes, and then it'll begin to count down. Okay? All right. So I'm going to get the stuff out for our next dish.
Hey, Aidan, we have a question here.
Okay.
Amber wants to know what kind of pasta did you put in?
So I use spiral pasta, rotini. So you could use that, or you can use, like I said earlier, you can use penny, you can use rigatoni, you can use any of those mid-sized pastas. If you wanted to do angel hair or something a little bit smaller like spaghetti, you would probably have to cut back on the time a little bit. But for the recipes that we're sharing today, any medium-sized pasta should be fine. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Alex.
You got it, bud.
Okay. So I'm actually going to just move this Instant Pot and kind of push it to the back and bring another one forward so you guys can see what's happening. All right, in this pot, we're actually going to be doing our burrito bowl, okay? So the burrito bowl is a really great dish to make. It's really simple. This is what you would call more or less a dump meal, which basically means most of it comes from cans. Excuse me. It is, hopefully things that you have in your pantry. We have a can of corn. If you don't have a can of corn, you could always use frozen corn. Black beans. I use black beans. You could use kidney beans. If you have another type of bean that you want to use and you really want to make this, you could probably throw it in there. The only one I might not use is garbanzo, but I think you could probably use like a navy bean, something like that in a pinch. Okay. This one's optional. I always ask people to include it because I think it tastes good and it adds a little bit of flavor and not too much heat. But these are green chilies. Right, you can find these in the grocery store. I like heat. If you don't have green chilies at your house, if you have any type of pepper, you could always just, green pepper, something like that. You could dice it up and throw it in there. Or if you want to add additional heat, you can use hot sauce or flakes or anything like that. I have a packet of taco seasoning. Okay. If you don't have taco seasoning like that in the packet, you can definitely go online and Google like what the ingredients are and like a McCormick's taco seasoning or anything like that, and they'll give you a pretty good idea of what to make. It's going to be cumin, salt, pepper, chili powder, things like that. So again, if you're in a pinch and you really want to make this, you can always probably find a way to get there. We're going to be using also some stock again, but if you don't have stock, you can always substitute water. I have right here, this is a cup of salsa. My preference is to use it's a Goya brand. It's called Pico de Gallo for the salsa component of this. I just like it because it has it's a little bit looser and not as much sugar as you might find in like Tostitos or like a Ace or anything like that. Those ones are really thick. This one's basically just your lime juice, some vinegar, and the juices from the tomatoes. And finally, I have 1 cup of ingrained rice, right? Rich, long grain rice. All right. Okay. So this one, we're going to go ahead and pour in our stock, and we're going to be using 1 cup of stock in this. All right. Sorry, folks, I'm just pulling everything up. All right. Okay. So I'm going to use 1 cup of stock here. I think my kids are playing peekaboo. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to put that in. We're going to add in the taco seasoning. Have you ever tried to open one of these with your hands and just rip it? It is like the hardest thing in the world for some reason, so I always use scissors. I was doing a video the other night and I was like struggling with it and it was super embarrassing. So I'm glad I brought the scissors out tonight. So I'm going to just go ahead and stand up and give this a little stir, make sure everything is nicely combined. Cool. So that is mixed up well. And I'm going to add in our cans now. Okay. Okay, thank you for agreeing, Tracy. Those packets are super hard to open. All right, so I'm going to throw in our green chilies. I'm going to put in the corn. I was actually doing this program, I don't remember what library, but I got there and it turned out my can of corn was a can of creamed corn and I could not use it. But I'm sure we've all made that mistake. All right, so the corn, you can actually pour the juice in there. It doesn't matter, you don't have to drain it if you don't want to. The black beans, we do have to drain though and give them a quick rinse. All right. So I'm just going to over here and clean these off. So we have our black beans.
Hey, Aidan, can I interrupt you for a sec? We have a question.
Sure, shoot.
Somebody is asking is the pasta dish ready? Will it get soggy if you don't open the pot now?
No, so what's happening now, I'm just going to move this for a second. Okay, yep. So the pasta dish is still heating up, okay? So we're going to wait probably 5 minutes or so since like I put the lid on and set the time for it to actually start to boil and the steam to build. So I can't really move this right now, but behind it still says on. It's going to beep, and I can hear it. It's going to be any minute now. And then it'll start to count down from 5. And then it'll actually start pressure cooking. When the pressure cook finishes, I'll release all the steam and then open the lid as soon as I can, because if I did leave it in there, it would start to get soggy and soft. All right, so essentially you got to think of it this way too. Technically the timer's not on because it's not pressure cooking yet, but the water is starting to boil, so it is cooking, but it's not officially pressure cooking. All right. Oh, fire roasted corn. That sounds good. Yeah. I've also thought about using the Rotel packages in here too. So it's neither here nor there. So I'm going to add in the salsa. And I'm just going to give this a very quick stir. Spoon go. Okay, so the next thing you're going to actually do with this, it's a little bit, before I had done this dish, I had never really done it this way. So with the Instant Pot, I take the rice and I just sprinkle it on top, you know? And basically what that's going to do, it's going to sit on top of the liquid layer and all the beans and the salsa and everything else. And when it's pressure cooking, it's going to cook the rice itself. So it's pretty cool because when you open it up, you have like a nice layer of rice on top and then everything's underneath. So it's almost like, like a Mexican shepherd's pie, I guess, more or less. So it's like you have that layer of starch on top, and then all of your filling and good stuff is underneath. So I usually actually just mix it up right afterwards, but if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle. You want to just make sure that you kind of cover everything and get it all spread around. All right. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this lid. I'm going to put it right on here. It's not usually that hard. It's sitting in some weird angle. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that it's set to seal in the back. All right, and then I'll get to that question. I'm going to just adjust this, and we're going to cook this for 8 minutes. Okay, was there any other questions?
Yeah, we got one.
Cooking it, right? It has to get to the right pressure before it starts cooking. Exactly, yeah. So basically what's going to happen, I'll show you this right now. I'm going to move this one back here. And yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't, but the pasta just changed from on to the timer, which we set it for. All right, so now it says 4 minutes. Yep, exactly. So what happened is the pressure built. There's enough steam in there for it officially to start pressure cooking. And now it'll actually pressure cook for that 4 minutes. And then when it concludes, it's going to beep, okay? What is the normal time for rice? Rice, 8 minutes to 10 minutes. For white rice, jasmine rice, basmati rice. If you're doing brown rice, it usually takes a little longer, 12 minutes. Different multigrains too. You have to adjust to quinoa, farro, barley, couscous. There's definitely different cook times. In our handy dandy book, there's actually 2 books that come with the Instant Pot, right? So there's this one, which is kind of like the user manual and tells you everything about getting started. And then there's also kind of a general cookbook, like getting like guide for all different types of foods. And it's really nuanced too. They have a bunch of different types of grains, and you can kind of look in there, different types of pastas, different cuts of meat, bone-in chicken, bone-out chicken, bone-in thigh, bone-out breast, so on and so forth, pot roast, pork chops, whatever, seafood. So it's actually a really great resource. When I first started using my Instant Pots, I used to just keep it, in one of the cabinets and pull it out if I ever was like trying to replicate something that I made in the stove, and just kind of use that as a reference, because that's probably one of the toughest things to figure out when you first get started. How long should I usually make it this way on my stove top? How long do I need to cook it for? Sorry about that. How long do I need to cook it for in the Instant Pot? So it's kind of a good good reference point when you first starting out. If you don't want to Google it. All right. So I'm going to just remove this right now. Move to our next dish. All right. Okay. So the last one I really struggled with, because I usually like to do something like fun that you could snack on, or a dessert for our one-on-one class, because you can really do a lot of different things with the Instant Pot. But I'm trying to make them more, like I said, pantry friendly, or just like cooking what's on hand, because like I mentioned, you don't want people running out to buy things that they don't have to get. All right. So the last one I decided on was actually something I just made for the first time 2 or 3 weeks ago. Popcorn. Really fun snack. A lot of people don't know that you can use your Instant Pot to make popcorn. We're going to do that. And I will say this much. If you do have like popcorn kernels at home, for if you have an air popper or whatever, those are good for months. You could really use those for up to 6 months. So if you're like, oh, I bought a bag in the summer, I don't know what happened to it. Oh, You want to see the popcorn? It's right here. Okay, so those are good for up to 6 months. They're, you know, obviously they're dried. They keep well. So, you know, if you're at the point you're saying, oh, I think I might have some popcorn somewhere and I'm dying for a snack, I really want a bag of chips or something salty, you can use your Instant Pot to make some popcorn. The second thing I will say, a lot of fun toppings with popcorn. You can kind of Google, like, you know, savory popcorn, sweet popcorn. So, you know, Parmesan garlic, herb popcorn, cheddar popcorn. I've seen marshmallow popcorn, caramel popcorn, cinnamon sugar. So, like, you can kind of say, like, all right, I'm gonna make popcorn, but I really wanted a dessert. Maybe you can just Google like a sweet popcorn and see if I have cinnamon in the house and some sugar. Okay, we can make this work. I can kind of try to satisfy that craving. I see there's one question, but I'm gonna just jump over here because our pasta finished. I'm gonna release the pressure. Okay, so one thing I'm gonna point out. This start. So I don't know if you guys can see, but this says L000, and what that means is how much time has lapsed since your pressure cook finished. And I'm just gonna go ahead and release the steam. So it's really loud, and a lot of steam comes out, and it takes like 2 minutes for it to finish. So we'll just bear with you for a minute. All right. But while that's releasing, I'm actually going to hit saute for our popcorn. Okay, so one of the things you will need when you make popcorn is either a glass lid like this or like a metal lid. Basically, you don't want to use the Instant Pot lid because we need some air to escape from there. This came with my pot and pan set. It actually fits pretty perfectly on a 6-quart. So I kind of just slide it right on top like that. So if you have one for your, you know, your stock pot or saute pan or anything lying around the house, you could probably use one of those. The glass is cool because then you can look inside and see everything popping. One of the advantages of making popcorn at the house. Okay, so there's a question. So Instant Pot meals, there's no need to stir anything while it's cooking. No, that is one of the things I love about the Instant Pot. The way I try to define it is it's basically active cooking, stirring, moving things around, flipping things versus passive cooking, which is kind of what you can do in the Instant Pot. And one of the things I really like about it, because I'll put the food in, and then I'll go play with the kids for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll come back and, you know, eat dinner. So yeah, there is no stirring involved. All right. So, good night. All right. What are you doing, Rose? Sorry, we have a baby on the loose. Say good night. Night, night. You're welcome. Sorry about that. Okay. So just so you know, we're basically waiting for this to stay hot. With the popcorn, you don't want to start early. You definitely want to wait until it's fully hot. And we're actually going to set the level, the temperature level, to be more. We want it to be as hot as possible. Okay. So while that's heating up, I'm just going to slide this over. But basically what I was just waiting for is that float pin on the pasta dish, this guy right here. You can see it coming up and down. So when you release the steam from the sealed position, this will stay up, and then when it's safe to open, it'll come all the way down like that. And it actually releases a lock on the lid. So now I can safely open this and pull it out. All right. So inside there, it is very hot still. Super duper hot. And so usually I give it a minute or two to cool off, but just from first glance, it looks like everything's cooked. I'll grab a bowl and plate it for you guys so you can see, but I'm just gonna give it a minute or two to cool off. All right. So what we're gonna need for our popcorn, half a cup of popcorn kernels. I use canola oil. You could use coconut oil if you have any. I would definitely say don't use olive oil. Probably stay away from that. You could use vegetable oil. You basically want something with a lower smoking point, okay? Okay. All right, so this is still heating up. Our burrito bowl is still getting going, so it hasn't actually pressurized yet. So that'll probably take another minute or two. All right. So this is still heating up. So in the meantime, I'll grab you a bowl so you can see what it looks like. My popcorn. I'm gonna throw it in here, and I'm just gonna stir this, and I'm gonna make sure I coat all the kernels with the oil. And then you kind of just want to make it flat. So it basically covers, you don't want anything to be stacked up too much. It's okay if it's a little stacked, but too much would be bad news. All right. And then finally, I'm just going to throw the lid on just like that. Okay. Are there any other questions? Can you use butter instead of oil for popcorn? I would put the butter on afterwards. Okay. Only reason being is the butter has a low smoke point, so it might start to burn or brown. So it probably wouldn't be the best solution. I like to melt the butter afterwards and kind of just pour it on top of the salt. All right.
Yeah, we kind of have a little poll going in the chat there while you were doing your thing. What would you put on your popcorn once it's finished? So some people have been throwing around ideas. Parmesan cheese was one of the
sugar.
yeah.
So I'm traditional. I like let me pause that for a second. When I'm making it at home, I like to just use butter and salt. I think it's the best. However, if you've ever had the Chicago style popcorn mix where it's the caramel and the cheddar and they mix it together, I don't know why. I thought it would be gross. It's so good. So I order that sometimes. It's one of the things that my grandmother and I have in common. We both love it. So I'll buy her bags and then eat some when I go there. Yeah, so that's a really good one. And it actually looks like our burrito bowl is about to seal up, maybe the next minute or two. The popcorn, I don't want to move the lid. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just waiting for it to start popping. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes. All right. Any other questions? Does anybody have any other questions? I'm going to ask a general question because I've been asked to do a lot of these like pantry ones. What are some things you have in your pantry that you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I don't even know why it's here. Just out of curiosity. And actually, you can hear the popcorn. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's starting to pop right now.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, cool. Condensed milk, rice pudding, miso paste. That's a tough one. I'd probably use it if I was grilling something, or if you can make ramen. You can make noodles with it, like a really good broth with some miso paste. Oh yeah, if you can actually see, I don't know if you can see here too, like the popcorn's kind of hitting the lid. All right, just 1 second, I just have to grab something right here. All right. There we go. So popcorn is about halfway full now. And basically what we're going to do is you'll kind of be able to tell, like when you do your microwave popcorn, it just slows down significantly at the end. But they say like a 15-second count in between pops means it's pretty much done. So you hear one and then you start counting it off like that. I'll be honest with you, I usually just eyeball it. After you make it a couple times, you're like, oh yeah, that's about right. Kind of like you would when you do the microwave popcorn in your bag. You look in there and you're like, oh, the bag's only this big, versus this big. All right. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're only at 5. All right, just so everybody knows, the burrito bowl, the times come up on that one. So it's going to start counting down. It should take just a few minutes for that to get going. That sounds about right. Okay. So I'm going to cancel here. There'll probably be a couple of random kernels that still jump out. I'm actually going to bring this in and see. Yummy popcorn, not bad, right? All right, so one of the things you definitely want to do after you make popcorn, there's a button for cancel that turns off the heat. But since it's still going to be hot in there, we actually want to take it out of there and set it to the side because we don't want it to burn on the bottom. So these are hot, so you just want to grab a kitchen towel or something like that. Put it to the side, and I'm going to transfer it to the bowl. Before I do that, I'm going to add the salt. So I use iodized salt in here and just give it a good toss. All right. So now all we need is a movie, right? I will say, you know, being stuck in the house has really made me watch a lot more movies and probably all my streaming services like everybody else. But it is pretty cool that a lot of these services are releasing some of these movies, you know, a lot faster than they would. You know, we watched Frozen 2 with the girls, and we watched Onward. So it's been nice being able to, you know, not have to spend $55 to go to the theater. One of the pluses of COVID, you save money on movies. So that's definitely been something we've appreciated. My wife wants me to do a plug for filling out your census. She's a librarian. I'm getting thumbs up from the other librarians.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't done your census yet, while you're waiting for your burrito bowl to cook, feel free to fill it out. All the free stuff you can get from the library. Yep. Hey, good. I'm glad you guys did yours. All right. So, any questions while we're waiting here for our burrito bowl? Anything that we didn't cover that you were curious about? Anything that you were wondering, would this be a good thing to make in the Instant Pot? I'm definitely, you know, open to questions. If not, I'll tell you a couple of things that I actually recommend. Any books, websites, Instagram accounts related to Instant Pots that we should check out. Okay, so there's a lot of good Instagram accounts. I would say the Instant Pot is probably one of the more social media friendly devices, especially because I think part of the reason it took off is because so many people were using it. But for the Instant Pot, I would say Pinterest is probably king or queen, however you want to look at it. There's tons of boards out there for basically any type of dish you would want to make. The accounts I like to follow, I find that one of the things I like about the Instant Pot the most is it's kind of really broadened my cooking horizon. I mean, I think we all get into that rotation of like 5 to 10 things that we make pretty much on a regular basis. So if you could ever expand that and go into different things, you know, it is appealing to me. And one of the things I've always found is the reason I would kind of not do some of those things is because I would look at, you know, you thumbing through a cookbook or recipes and magazines, you see like, oh my God, 2 hours. No, I don't have time for that. Like, what if I make it and it comes out terrible? I just wasted 2 hours. But with the Instant Pot, if you can cut that down to like 25 minutes or a half hour, it's like, yeah, I guess I'll give it a shot. You know, some Indian food or some Thai food. Like, you know, it's not going to take me all day. So as far as that goes, cookbooks, there's there's the Instant Pot cookbook itself, which is pretty good. I just want to also say I don't work for Instant Pot. I get no money from them at all. I just hope you guys can check out my website. But the Instant Pot cookbook is good. It actually breaks things out into like beginner, intermediate, advanced. There's different recipes there. Soup, it has everything: breakfast, soups, capture on chicken, everything like that. There's a gentleman, and I don't remember the author's name, but he does Indian cooking in the Instant Pot. That's a pretty cool book. I honestly follow so many Instagram accounts. I actually just follow the hashtag Instant Pot, and you'll see tons of recipes in there. People are doing all types of crazy things. It's really fun to watch and see what people can do. It gives me lots of ideas for things I want to try. Because you'll see something and you're like, I love that, but I would add peanut butter or something like that. And that's kind of how you grow it. All right. So we have 2 minutes left on our burrito bowl. We are coming to the end. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. Cool. I have cauliflower in my freezer. Okay, cool. If you have cauliflower in your freezer, I would say you could try cauliflower soup if you wanted. I actually, last time I was at Middle Country, I did a cauliflower soup, and we did a vegan version. We used cashew milk instead of traditional dairy, or half and half for cream. We also used a potato, just a white or yellow potato to help thicken it. It was super good. Thank you, Elizabeth. I thought it was a great program as well. I think the vegan one was the one where one of the outlets didn't work and I had to carry the Instant Pot around. It was frustrating, but totally fine. Everybody was really cool. All the patrons were awesome. What seasoning? I keep my cauliflower soup really simple, so I just did salt and pepper. If you want, I've done curry cauliflower soup. That one's good if you have, I like to use curry paste. If you have curry paste around, that's my preference. But if you don't, you can always use some curry seasoning, maybe a little bit of cumin, coriander, something like that. The other way you can do it, I'm trying to think of other ways I've had the cauliflower soup. The non-vegan way, I've seen people just load it with cheese, do like a cheese cauliflower soup, feta or something like that. Really rich, very delicious. All right. So our burrito bowl just wrapped up. So I'm going to just open the lid on that. Sorry, first I have to release the pressure. It's going to be really loud again. I will give you one tip. You can use a kitchen towel on top of it. And one of the things I like about that is if you're ever doing, like, normally I would do this on my countertop, right? And right above my counter is my cabinets. So if I put the towel on, it actually catches a lot of like the fats and the oils that are coming up, or any of the starches that might have cooked off and turned into steam and been escaping from the valve on top. So that'll help catch it, okay? And it just saves you a little bit of cleaning in the kitchen. Let me see. You can steam the cauliflower and mash it. Yep. Could you use cheese? Oh wait, hang on. There's a bunch of questions in here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't sure.
No, it's okay.
Could you use
what seasoning
cheese
do you use? I only have curry powder. You could use the curry powder for sure if you wanted to do that. Let's see. It depends on how, I'll just say it depends on how much you like curry. It's probably how much you're going to use. If you're a big curry person, you can go up to, I don't want to say a tablespoon, that might be a lot, but like a half tablespoon. If you're not huge on curry and you want it to be more cauliflower forward, use like a half teaspoon, because curry is definitely a strong flavor. Could you use cheese? So yes, you would add the cheese when it's done. So you would cook the cauliflower with some either vegetable broth or stock, and then you would add it after it cooked. You actually wouldn't even need to cook very long, 5 minutes probably. And then afterwards, you can just add some cheese, maybe a cup or two, and stir it in there. It would be delicious. Can you steam the cauliflower and mash it? If it is fresh cauliflower, you could steam it. If it is frozen, it'll probably be pretty mushy if you mashed it. So that would be my note on that. And thank you for the comment on the noodles. I like that one too. Okay, so our burrito bowl is done. All the steam has escaped. Just gonna grab something to show you guys what it looks like. So this is what our burrito bowl looks like. There we go. It's kind of sliding around because it's still a little hot in there. But in normal circumstances, garnish, I would use cilantro, avocado, sliced jalapenos. You could throw cheese in here if you want. Let's see what else. You could use sliced jalapeno. You can use some onion. Some onion would be nice. A little bit more of that salsa if you have any left. There's a whole different bunch of ways you can go. You could wait till this cools off, throw it in a burrito. You know, you can do a lot of different things. But that is, yes, cheese, definitely cheese. That is, I think, everything that I have for you guys tonight. Are there any other questions before we get going? No? Okay, so I'll just say this. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. I really do appreciate it. I know everything is really hard these days, and you know, we're all kind of struggling to still connect with each other, and this is a great way to do it. So thank you to Middle Country Library. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who came tonight. You know, and we'll get through this. Let's all stay safe and you know, stay positive. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.